What if I told you that it is time for John Harbaugh to kick rocks and get the hell out of Baltimore? In this Week 5 breakdown, I am not only going to make a compelling stat-backed argument for why John Harbaugh's time has more than run out with the Ravens, but we are also going to be talking about the most exciting, most interesting, and most painful things from Week 5. There's a ton of games that have shocked me. There are teams and players that now have my attention, and we have the latest entries in the pain index for the teams who had the most miserable week in football. No fluff, no lazy hot takes, just the analysis you wish you could get in other places. John Harbaugh is a coaching dead man walking, and you cannot convince me otherwise. The Baltimore Ravens are not just losing. They are historically non-competitive on defense. I should not be the only person calling for Harbaugh's job, because what was once the team's hallmark and calling card on their defense, these 2025 Baltimore Ravens are the worst defense through 5 weeks, surrendering more than 37 points in 4 of the last 5 games. That is not an injury problem. That is a coaching problem. And John Harbaugh has his fingers on all of this. This is completely unacceptable. And anyone who tries to downplay this or say that they will be fine are only going to find themselves back in the same position that they are every single year. Congratulations, Lamar, you won an MVP, but you have nothing else to show for it, while Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen hoist that trophy and your ass is sitting at home. Harbaugh has put together a track record of inexcusable late game failures. Don't tell me that you have the best running game in the history of the world if you can't run the damn clock out when it matters. And I don't care how many high scoring late game leads that you have if you can't close the door on one of your top 3 rivals in the Buffalo Bills in prime time. I know folks want to give Buffalo credit, but ultimately that game was Baltimore's to win and ultimately lose. There are missed assignments on the defensive side of the ball. Basic mistakes are rampant. Players and coaches admit the team is not executing on defensive fundamentals. We've got poor tackling, confusion pre-snap, and a lack of physicality. And these are the things that Harbaugh, his argument is that he's going to come in and he's going to shore up. If I can't get guys to properly communicate on defense, regardless of who's injured or not, that is a coaching and organizational problem. And sometimes you just simply need a new man in the building and a new voice and someone who can manage the clock. At 1-4, they're obviously at a significant risk of missing the playoffs unless they have a near perfect run. And with the way that the track record that Harbaugh has as of now, he would have to do an all-time job in order to get them even to sniff the playoffs, especially given the current state of their health and their performance. I am so shocked that Sam Darnold is good in a Seahawks uniform. I absolutely just thought that this was a Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan. This guy can plug and play regardless. These coaches can plug and play whoever, regardless of who is playing quarterback. And boy, was I wrong on this one. Sam Darnold going toe-to-toe with former cast-off Baker Mayfield, putting up nearly 40 points on both sides of the ball. For the first time ever, 2 opposing quarterbacks went for 325 plus yards and completed over 80% of their passes in the same game. Darnold was 28 for 33, 341 yards, 4 TDs until his game-ending interception. The Seahawks may be the team to come out of the NFC West. I did not think that Sam would be able to strive in structure without some level of offensive guru. And I don't think anyone is comparing Clint Kubiak to a offensive mastermind, but I've got to give Sam Darnold his props because he just went toe-to-toe with the best quarterback in the league in Baker Mayfield. Changed my mind. The biggest shocks for me of the week are really about the New York Jets. I had no idea that they were going to be this horrible. I thought with Aaron Glenn coming in, not only would the defense get back to 2023 level, but some creativity and a true playmaker and decent decision maker in Justin Fields at the helm. I thought this team was on the path to success, but my notes are showing that they have 0 defensive takeaways, which is what Aaron Glenn was brought in to shore up. The only chance that I am giving Aaron Glenn to turn this around is if it mirrors almost identically what they did in Detroit, where they kept losing swaths of games only to then now become a juggernaut. Another major shock. On Monday night, we've got Trevor Lawrence putting on a masterclass. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a legitimate operation, and for a first-time head coach to just flip things at the flip of a switch is really impressive. And I'm glad that the Jags got an opportunity to be in prime time, and I can see why folks are calling for more Jags games. That was one of the most fun games of the entire week, in a week full of some really interesting, close games. And it is not a surprise to me that the Kansas City Chiefs continue to get rolled. I think that is going to be the case. I think Travis Kelce needs to retire. Now on to my favorite stats of the week. You heard me say that Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback in the league. He completed 88% of his passes, threw for 379 yards, 2 TDs, which is the highest completion percentage this year in the NFL with 30 attempts. There is not a quarterback in the league who I want the ball in their hands at the end of the fourth quarter more than Baker Mayfield. Jonathan Taylor is so back. This Colts team hanging 40 points with both sides of the ball just humming. 3 rushing TDs versus the Raiders. One of the biggest surprises for me is how quickly the Raiders have been exposed. Other interesting stat, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals have been outscored 113-37 across 3 games since Burrow's toe injury. Thoughts and prayers to that fan base. We've got the Patriots with a +2 turnover margin versus the Bills, and the Jets are 0-5 through 5 games. This is historic. Listen, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have my attention because they've been my football team since I took my first breath in this world, but holy shit, do they look unbelievable. They are going through a gauntlet in their season right now, and they have my attention as perhaps the best team in the entire NFC, and they're not even healthy. Baker Mayfield's been secretly banged up. You could see that little hitch in his giddy up. The Indianapolis Colts have had my attention because I can't believe that Daniel Jones is actually a functioning football player, much less quarterback. I know he can run the ball, but this is what you signed up for when you hired the quote-unquote whiz kid in Indianapolis in Shane Steichen. This is what you wanted when you brought him in. Sad Jim Irsay's not around to see it. Now on to the pain index. This is really just a who's who of bad teams. The Giants ultimately thought they might have a winner in Jackson Dart, but he got outdueled by Spencer Rattler, who actually statistically and performance metric wise isn't that bad. But that Saints team has a lot of holes, and unfortunately Jackson Dart couldn't get it done, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to replicate that fluke that we saw against the LA Chargers. The Jets continue to go deeper and deeper into a hole, but they might get a little bit of a reprieve with the Broncos, Panthers, Bengals, and Browns. At least on the offensive side of the ball, they'll have an advantage there. The Jets have got to get good, and they've got to get good quickly. And lastly, let's wrap it up with some coaching crime scenes. Obviously, we mentioned Harbaugh at the top of the show. The entire Bills staff is getting an honorable mention with snapping their 14-game home win streak with sloppy turnovers and poor situational execution. And the Raiders might be the biggest shock to me of all. The team looked lifeless versus the Colts, and this is coaching malpractice you are seeing from some teams. We have got major stock up with the Buccaneers, the Colts, the Lions, who seem to be old faithful now at this point in our lives. The Patriots do not seem to be doing a major rebuild. They are playing disciplined, playing playoff level ball, and unfortunately I've got to mention the Broncos and Sean Payton, who have somewhat of a volatile quarterback. We will see how that plays out. And so I'm going to leave you with one big truth. Situational football decides everything in 2025. Coaches must continuously put their players in the best position to to succeed at all times because you never know when it's going to pay off. So now I'm passing it on to you. Which NFL team and franchise is the most miserable right now? Who has earned your attention? Is it the Colts? Is it the Broncos or someone else? Please drop your takes in the comments. I will feature the sharpest one when we are breaking down week 6. And if you're new here, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And as always, I appreciate you stopping by. I will see you next time.